Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Wellness Wednesday. I am Robin Keogh, Executive Director of FEA, the Federal Employee Education and Assistance Fund, which is the beneficiary charity of the Feds in Motion Challenge. Like our holistic wellness challenge, FIA's focus is on providing a holistic set of programs that help make life better for federal employees and their families. Thank you all for joining us here today and for the challenge. Your support is making our mission possible. We also owe a debt of gratitude to our corporate sponsors who form the backbone of our support network for all of FIA's programs all throughout the year. And I am delighted today to thank GEHA for being a longtime sponsor of FIA, a longtime sponsor of the challenge, and a huge supporter of federal employees. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Angela Capps, National Webinar Engagement Specialist at GEHA. Angela?
Thank you, Robin. As Robin shared, I'm the National Webinar Engagement Specialist here at GEHA, and I'm genuinely excited to be with you today. At GEHA, we're proud to be the largest benefits association dedicated exclusively to federal employees, and we've had the honor of serving federal employees like you for more than 88 years. Founded by postal workers in 1937, GEHA remains focused solely on supporting federal employees, retirees, and their families, bringing more benefits, more value, and more support to federal families across the country. We're also proud to partner with FEA, the Federal Employee Education and Assistance Fund, which does incredible work for federal families through scholarships and education assistance. Each year, GEHA is honored to contribute $12,500 to FIA's scholarship program and to sponsor their Feds in Motion event, helping federal employees and their families pursue their goals and keep moving forward. And now I'm thrilled to introduce our presenters for today's presentation. Our first presenter is Mika Cross. Mika is a nationally acclaimed, award-winning workplace expert, trainer, facilitator, speaker, and strategist with deep interdisciplinary expertise in modern workforce initiatives, human resources transformation, team performance, organizational health, and employee well-being, and the future of work. She brings more than 20 years of public service experience across the U.S. intelligence community, the Office of Personnel Management, the Department of Labor, and the Department of Agriculture, followed by her role as Vice President of Employer Engagement at FlexJobs, a fully remote company. She is also a U.S. Army veteran and the founder and CEO of Strategy at Work. Our second presenter is Julie Keys. Julie is a passionate personal fitness trainer and certified nutrition coach dedicated to helping people create lasting change. She understands firsthand that real transformation doesn't come from quick fixes. It comes from building habits that are realistic, empowering, and sustainable. Her belief is simple but powerful. Everyone has the capacity to change their life, and health is your most valuable asset. And we hope you enjoy today's presentation.
Hello, everyone. I am Mika Cross, best known as a government workplace expert. Yes, I did serve many, many years, both in uniform as a proud Army veteran, as well as in the federal government space, long-term career civil servant myself. And I am thrilled to welcome you today to our session called Toxic Truths, the everyday toxins hiding in your daily routine. Because today is all about making invisible dangers, potential dangers, visible, and also empowering you to take small, meaningful steps that protect your health, your home, and also your family. Now, most of us spend 90% of our time indoors, unless you're in the front lines working in the parks. But either at work or at home, or maybe in the gym if you're like Coach Julie, who I'll introduce you to just in a moment. And studies show that indoor air can be 2 to 5 times more polluted even than outdoor air. So when you think about it, it really gives new meaning to home sweet home, right? Now, today's training isn't a lecture. It's meant to be a conversation and a conversation starter. So, we want you to be thinking about aha moments and personal experiences and ways that might feel right for you that you can think about making small, tiny little changes that might enhance your own overall health and well being. So, Julie and I will pause throughout, ask each other some questions, maybe even give you some show and tell examples in terms of where you can start. But before we jump into the training overall, I'd like to invite you just for a moment to just think about maybe one product or even one daily habit that you suspect might not be as healthy or safe as you thought. So, with that, as I give you a moment to consider and ponder and think about that, I am going to come on and introduce my co facilitator and our expert trainer, Coach Julie Keys, who is a certified nutritionist, a fitness trainer, and really an expert in health and wellness and well being as it relates to practical lifestyles and things that we can do every single day. So, welcome, Julie. Thank you for being a part of today's session.
Well, thank you so much for having me here. Anything I can do to have people live a happier and healthier life, I am all for it.
Awesome. So before we dive into the data, I thought we could just talk about what got you passionate about toxin awareness and also helping people remove those hidden hazards from their daily routines.
Well, when I became a coach myself, I realized that physical training and nutrition was a big part of the story, but it wasn't the entire part of the story. There are other things around us all the time that we could do that are simple, that might increase our health and make us live just a longer life. Clients were coming to me with questions, and I realized that I needed to get better at what I do so that I can be the best coach for them.
That's awesome. And I know you work with clients, like I said, from the nutrition aspect to the fitness and personal health, whether it's weight training, cardio fitness, all of those things. What do you think are the biggest misconceptions that people actually have about what's safe in their home or environment as well?
So, one of the biggest ones is going to be antibacterial soap. I
Mm.
know yeah, that's all. It's very shocking. Everybody's always shocked when I break that out as my A number one. So the deal with antibacterials is that they actually increase the likelihood that you're resistant to antibiotics when you do get sick, and they make antibiotic resistant strains of illnesses. So we want to minimize. Usually, soap and water will do the trick. We don't need to add any antibacterial agents to it.
Interesting. That is fascinating. Something I might not have thought about myself. With that, we are going to jump into today's session. I'm going to kick it back over to Coach Julie to talk about what are the primary areas we'll be focusing on. And I just want to highlight to each and every one of you, this is not about fear. This is not about being hyper scared and worried about all of the things. It's for awareness. And also, Coach Julie is going to give us some practical tips that we can bring into our own home and life environment. So with that, I'll kick it over to Julie, and maybe I'll chime in along the way, Julie, if I have questions or if I think we
Please.
can add some flavor and color to the conversation.
All right. Thank you, Mika. You've done a great job going over what we're going to be touching on today. So our key things that we're going to go over are we're going to learn how to identify and evaluate the toxins that are around us all the time. Suggest some safer swaps or how to find safer swaps, and then give you some tools that you can use to make the whole process simpler along the way. This isn't about being scared, as Mika was kind enough to say, but most of the toxins that surround us are going to be inside our homes. I know that when we think about toxins, we think about environmental pollutants and things like that, but you spend a lot of time inside. That goes right along with like hidden dangers. And it's the cumulative effect of being exposed to these things that really get to us. So, some of our common everyday toxins are things like the forever chemicals that are in your nonstick cookware. So, when you're cooking, nonstick cookware does start to come off of pans that you're cooking in every single day, and that ends up in your food and then in your digestive tract. And we have a tendency to absorb things very rapidly when they're in our gut. And our gut has to be healthy for us to remain healthy. Parabens, I know that we've all talked about those before. Most people know what they are. We're talking about lotions, cosmetics, soaps, shampoos, things like that. So the main thing that you can do to minimize your risk there is to just simply choose something that's unscented. A lot of those chemicals are related to the fragrance that is in these, and we'll talk about how to replace those fragrances a little later on. It's something that you can do at home that's a simple swap. uh, Lead and radon. If you're living in a pre-1978 home, we all know that when you're getting inspected, they always check for lead paint. Um, the other one that most people are not familiar with down here where we live, radon in basements is always screened for. So radon is basically a gas that seeps into basements from the surrounding soil. It's caused by the breakdown of like radioactive isotopes. Over time, it can make you quite ill. Both of these things are cancer causers. So if we're talking about toxins, these are the big ones, worse than the parabens and the nonstick cookware. So easy thing you can do is just get a radon detector in your house, just like your carbon monoxide detector, and that'll help you out tremendously. BPAs are the big buzzword, microplastics. They leach in through plastic bottles, plastic Tupperware, even the linings of cans. That's one that most people are not aware of. And then the big one that people are forget that they're being exposed to is these guys right here. This is a K cup. This is made of plastic. You are shooting incredibly hot water into plastic, and when plastic gets really hot, it melts. And then you're drinking small amounts of melted plastic every time you use a K cup. So what I've done recently to correct this is that I've actually switched to a Nespresso pot. This is a Nespresso pot. It's made of aluminum. And Nespresso actually includes a free recycling bag. Every single time you make a pot order, you seal it. It's completely free. There is a little bit of lining in these, but significantly less risk here with an espresso pod than with a K cup. So if you're like me and you need something quick and it's just you, you don't want to brew a whole pot of coffee, Nespresso, much better option for you. All right. So why does this matter? If you have children, it really matters. So children are tiny human beings, of course, and because they're tiny human beings, they're way more apt to get ill from everyday toxins. Neurotoxins like lead, pesticides can cause real developmental delays in kids. So when you're using pesticides, you want to make sure that you are cross-checking that against the EPA's website. The EPA has a fantastic database where you can type in anything that's in your home, and they will basically give you a score and provide you with a safer choice. They have a safer choice list. So I highly recommend them. It's a great place for you to start. Microplastics over time, they're hormone disruptors. So think about, you know, perimenopause, menopause, even men experience hormone fluctuations. We don't want to do anything that's going to contribute to the fluctuation in our hormones. We have enough to deal with. So if we can avoid those things as much as possible, that is a lot of help.
And Julie, you know what, you really did remind me about that awareness around the chronic exposure to everyday chemicals and
Yep.
how it can lead into, like you said, even children are even more vulnerable. But I imagine, hormone disruption, as you mentioned, but maybe respiratory issues or
Oh, yeah.
cardiovascular disease. I know you coached a
Yep.
lot of people who come in kind of feeling fatigued or off. I went through that during COVID even. I thought it was long COVID, but it in fact wasn't. So you coach those people in their health and fitness routines and journeys. How often do you think hidden toxins are a part of that story?
That's an excellent question. So when you first get somebody in, you want to fix, what you have control of first. So you want to get them moving, right? And then you want to see if they're drinking enough water, and how their nutrition is, because your liver is the main detoxifier. And if it's impaired by poor nutrition, a lack of movement, chronic dehydration, it's going to have a very hard time removing any of those toxins from your body. After we've kind of assessed whether those things are on point or not, then we start looking into the products that they're using at their home. Big, people are still smoking a lot. They're still drinking a lot of alcohol. We got to address that. I mean, alcohol is a very big thing in our society. It's a big social thing, but at its core, it is a poison. So we need to take care of those things first. That's the low hanging fruit. And then usually the next thing I start asking is, how much free and clear stuff is in their house? How much scent are they using? Are they microwaving inside plastic containers? Things like that. Yeah.
Thanks so much for that. Yeah, I forgot. You're right. Alcohol is kind of a toxin, isn't it? That
It
we
is. It is the biggest toxin.
sometimes use or overuse in our leisure time.
Mhm.
But yeah, those healthy choices and options and just being aware of all the potential toxins in our
Potential.
environment is really key. Well,
Yes,
thanks for that. I'll
absolutely.
kick it back over to you.
Thank you. So, easy ways to reduce toxins inside your home since we spend 90% of our time inside. Removing your shoes at the door is highly underrated. So, we wear our shoes inside the house a lot, but if you think about it, you're walking around in the street, in yards, in commercial buildings where everybody else has been in those shoes. So, the best thing that you can do there is just slip them off at the door, walk around your house without shoes. HEPA filtration in your vacuum is a big one. This is going to help reduce allergens and further purify your air. Safer cleaning products. So the Environmental Working Group, or EWG, has an app called the Healthy Living app, and you can check all of your cleaning products on that app. And it'll give them a grade and actually go into detail as to why they are graded the way they are. And then the Safer Choice product label, that is an EPA label. So EPA does put safer choice labels on a lot of the products that you see in your grocery store. And you can actually look for those. A lot of the harsher chemicals can cause respiratory interaction. Cheap and easy, white vinegar and water is an excellent cleaner. I know we've probably all used it to sanitize our dishwashers and washing machines. And then what is it? Dr. Bronner's makes a Castile soap. And that actually has recipes on the back of it for dilution rates to use for pretty much everything from face wash to scrubbing your countertops. And then improve ventilation. Even in the wintertime, you can open your windows. It's actually called burping your house. If you do it in the winter, what you do is you go through and you open all the windows in your house and just let the cold air blow through. And that actually helps a lot as far as purifying your air. We're reaching a good time of year for releasing toxins, but I know allergens are a big deal. So those HEPA filters will be working overtime right now.
That's a really good, easy tip and swap. Well, really, all of these are removing your shoes and thinking about the different cleaning products, especially with the water and vinegar hack. I assume it's much cheaper too.
It's so cheap.
Um, yeah, but like if you consider the number of kids or people in your family, maybe yourself, that have even seasonal allergies, I assume that, burping your house, letting that clean air come in and like swapping those HEPA filters in your vacuums, but also remembering to do those air filters too are quite important to think about and pretty easy.
Yeah, and actually really inexpensive on Amazon. And
Yeah.
they have pretty ones that match your home decor now. I actually have a really nice aqua blue air filter in my living room right now that you wouldn't even know was an air filter if you were looking at it. So it's a great
Nice.
thing to do. Doesn't have to be unattractive to be healthy.
That's awesome. Well, I know we're moving into the next section, which is kind of shifting from the problems and identifying the potential toxins to also like empowering us in terms of those small swaps that can make big impacts. So I'm going to invite participants with us today to just think about what might be easiest for you to try. What could you jot down in terms of a little action plan that you can take with you to take a few next small but powerful steps as well. So, Julie, I know you're going to go into some of those easy toxin reducing habits in addition to what you've already shared, and some of those swaps, especially in the kitchen too, I think.
Yeah. So I'm going to go into that within the next few slides. We'll go into that in detail. All right. So inside your home, food and drink matters a lot. Again, that's going straight into your belly. There's a there's a lot of questioning about like, should I do organic? Do I have to do organic? We all know that organic produce is quite a bit more expensive. Fortunately, the EWG puts out a dirty dozen list every single year. And these are the actual produce items that have the most detectable levels of pesticides in them. They also put out another clean 15 list, and we're going to go over that in our next slide. But the easy thing you can do is just make sure that you wash all your produce. Even if it says it's pre-washed, you still want to go ahead and make sure that you give it a thorough rinse just to make sure. And then you're going to do fresh or frozen vegetables over canned because, like we said, the liner of the can does have BPA in it, and that can seep into your food over time. And then BPA. So plastic containers. We all have plastic containers in our house that we like to store leftovers in. You can store cooled food in a plastic container. That's not a problem. It's when we apply heat where there's an issue. Some BPA seeps in, but it's when you melt down the plastic that it actually gets into your food. The easiest and best way to make sure that you're not consuming that is to switch to glass containers. Glass containers are not going to stain, they're not going to hold odor, they're not going to leach chemicals into your food. I think they look better, but that's just me. Um, some people do question the fact that the glass containers have plastic lids. We don't put the plastic lid in the microwave. As long as you're not microwaving the plastic lid with your food, you're a-okay. Also in the kitchen, we talked a little bit about our cookware. So we have a lot of options for cookware, and most of it does have nonstick on it of some kind. Teflon, we're all familiar with the name brand Teflon. Great for cooking, bad for health. So some swaps that you could make are cast iron. They do have ceramic enameled cast iron now, or stainless steel. Those are going to be fantastic, much healthier options for you in the long run. Um, I know the stainless steel can come with a higher price tag, but replacing one pan at a time, whichever one you use the most is the one that I would replace first. Cast iron actually also has the benefit of providing you with iron in your food. So if you are somebody who tends to be anemic or ride the line of anemia, cast iron can actually be your best friend. All right. Here's our list of the dirty dozen and your clean 15. If you want to take a moment to review this and see if anything on here surprises you. You'll see this list does change every year. Not every item on it changes every year, but you always have access to this on the EWG's website. EWG is environmentalworkinggroup.com. And you'll be able to access this anytime, any year. Personal care items, talking about lotions, soaps, laundry detergent, all of those items. So we want to get really comfortable reading the labels on a lot of these things. You'll see parabens listed on there, synthetic fragrances listed on there. So if it says fragrance, that means synthetic fragrance. And likely that's going to come with those phthalates and parabens. If you can choose fragrance free, you're already on the right path. Now, I am a fragrance hound. I have a very strong sense of smell, so I like things to smell really pretty all the time. So what I have done is I have a nice collection of essential oils. And I can make my own oils for my skin by using a carrier oil. So one of my favorite carrier oils that's very healthy for you is this is actually coconut oil that I bought from the grocery store. This jar will last me forever. It's good for everything. It's great for your hair. It's great for your skin. It's cheap, way cheaper than cosmetics. And I will take my little essential oil. This is one of my favorite ones. This is a sand and fog essential oil. It's called teak wood. Has sandalwood and like nice woody smells in it, but they have a ton of great smells. Them and Eden's Garden. I will take this plus my coconut oil and make really, really nice scented body oils with that. Put it in your hair. It's not going to hurt your hair. There's no alcohol, so it's not going to dry anything out. It still smells fantastic.
Now, can you
Lasts you
heat
forever.
that up too, Julie? Could you heat it up and use it like for like a warmer? You know how this sometimes people
Mm-hmm.
use candles instead of candles,
Yes.
maybe?
Yep. I have scented oil diffusers. all over my house. And I actually, next time you come into the gym, walk by the front desk. I have a scented oil diffuser at the front desk.
Yes.
So I use specifically at the gym, I actually choose essential oils that are supposed to be good for well-being, mental well-being, because I want everybody to feel good when they walk in the front door. But yeah, that's a great option. You don't have to do the spray air fresheners. Most of those are not really good for your respiratory tract. They're not good for you, your animals, or your kids. So if you can switch to an essential oil diffuser, much cleaner, much cleaner.
That's so true because our bodies really do absorb what we put on them, but also as we ingest them, like even just breathing. So it is important to watch those. I know you've helped a lot of people think about cleaning up, no pun intended, or maybe it was intentional, their personal care routines. Are there some other swaps that give maybe some big return on improvement, maybe not investment, but improvement that you've seen work?
So the healthiest thing that we can do in our personal care is really to consume more water. I know it sounds cliche, but water water is great for everything. So skincare starts with internal hydration. So we can put all the fancy creams and stuff we want on our face, but if we're not taking care of the inside of our body, then the outside of our body is going to show that. So the best thing that we can do with personal care is to start there and then maybe remove some of the, like what we just talked about, the synthetic fragrances, um, shampoos going sulfate free. Sulfate is actually what makes shampoo bubbly. But the problem with sulfates is they actually strip like moisture from the hair follicle and from your scalp, and that can actually cause skin irritation over time. Dry, flaky scalp, dry, brittle hair. So if you go to a sulfate-free shampoo, that'll help out a lot with your personal care as well.
Thank you so much for that. And I do want to remind everyone, all our participants, we have put together a wonderful resource guide. Hopefully, you'll get access to that. If not, you can always reach out to us on LinkedIn or via our website. But it's a free resource guide with all of the links and some ideas on some safe swaps and things like that. So you'll be able to either watch the replay or be able to grab that resource guide as well.
Oh, and I forgot to mention natural deodorant. I know that a lot of the times people, yeah, aluminum free deodorant. So Native makes a really good natural deodorant that's aluminum free. And you'll notice a lot of the big brands are starting to do it too. I was in CVS yesterday and Suave and Dove both had aluminum free options already on the shelf. So they're starting to become cheaper and more available for all of us. Your body usually does go through a transition period when you start going to a natural deodorant. At first, you will be fine. You will not sweat. It will be as if you were using an antiperspirant. And then a day will come where you start sweating profusely. This is your body actually detoxifying from the aluminum deodorant. If you hang in there and get through it, the natural aluminum-free deodorants will start doing their job again, but it's a little bit of a process. We got to give our body time to work, right?
So I guess the moral of the story there is be strategic in your timing for
Yes.
transitioning. If you
Do it
have a
in the
big event
winter.
or a wedding or something like that, you might want to be cognizant of when you are making the swap for that one.
Yes. Let's think about doing that in maybe November. Starting the
Smart,
process, starting
smart.
the process in like October or November. Therefore, we go through the hard part in the winter time when it's not hot.
That's great.
So,
Thanks for
yeah,
that.
you're very welcome. All right. So, testing and monitoring in your home. We already talked a little bit about this at the beginning. We're going to make sure that we get those DIY testing kits for radon. They're readily available on the internet and not expensive. Pre-1978, we're going to go ahead and have an inspector come in and do a professional inspection for lead or asbestos. Asbestos, we know, is a big, big contributor to lung cancer. We know that now. It's it's gonna hurt you. So we want to make sure that those are all are those things are taken care of. And then you can use apps like the Healthy Living app that I talked about, and there's another app called Think Dirty, where you can actually go on and check household products to make sure they score well and they are indeed healthy. Because not all products that are marketed as better are better. And I will tell you that when I got that Healthy Living app, I was pretty surprised by some of the items that I actually have in my own home that I purchased thinking that they were better than what I was using. And I got the most surprising offender right here next to me. It's this brand right here, which is Myers Clean Day, Clean a Day. You see that?
I see
Most
it.
people buy this thinking that it's better because I know I did, but it scores very poorly online for the chemicals and the synthetic fragrances that are in it.
Hmm.
Palmolive Free and Clear has near perfect scores opposed to this, and it's like half the price. So things like that are surprising. And then here we go. One of my favorite swaps I've made was my laundry detergent. We're exposed to laundry detergent, dryer sheets all the time because your skin is your biggest organ and we absorb a lot through our skin. We wear clothes every day. So what you're washing your clothes in and what you're putting in the dryer really do matter. Um, I used to use the a main commercial laundry detergent. I believe it was Gain with like the Febreze and the boosters and all kinds of stuff in there. Come to find out, that's obviously not very good for you. And the packaging is terrible for the environment. Even if they say it's recycled, that doesn't mean it will be recycled again. It will end up in a landfill. So what I did is I switched out my laundry detergent for these laundry detergent sheets. I bought this at Harris Teeter at the grocery store of all places, and it's by a brand called Clean Cult. It comes out as one single sheet. You drop it in your washer, and this one actually smells like juniper sandalwood. Smells amazing. Smells so good. Smells so much better than any liquid detergent I've ever tried. And I actually no longer use dryer sheets. I have dryer balls that I put
Yeah.
in my dryer that help toss the clothes around and remove static electricity. All those things are simple. You can find dryer balls even at like a Marshalls or TJ Maxx now. They're all over the place.
I heard you can also use tennis balls, but then my dog goes after them. They spill out after the after the dryer. I'll have to try that juniper smelling one that you just referenced.
Oh, it's
This is so
amazing.
great for giving us so many different ideas. One thing I didn't hear you talk about yet, and I might be getting ahead of it, but isn't it true, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, isn't it true that another good move for detox, again, pun intended, is movement, like physical movement? I mean, we are talking to our audience in the midst of our
Nice.
May challenge. So hopefully everyone's getting a lot of movement and doing some great healthy activities together. But just thought I'd throw that out there in terms of a way to detox your physical body.
You are actually reading my mind because here's the next slide. So, ways we can support our body's ability to naturally detox. We detox in a pretty set number of ways: fiber rich foods, hydration, movement, sweat, and managing your stress. So, your body detoxes itself. We have a lot of things on the market right now, detox teas, you know, pills and things like that that are supposed to assist you in detoxifying. And most of them are just really expensive laxatives. Um, even even herbal stuff is just really expensive laxatives. So the best thing that you can do is make sure that you're getting enough insoluble and soluble fiber. Insoluble and soluble fibers work together. They're found in like skins of fruits and vegetables, um, oats and things like that. So if you're eating a pretty varied diet, you're probably doing a good job for yourself. Most of America doesn't get enough. So you might want to start flipping over the container on things you're eating to see if it contains fiber. And then maybe increasing the volume of your fruits and vegetables. Please leave the skin on when it's edible. Hydration. Your body weight is composed of half of it is water. So when we look at people at the gym and I look at their body composition, when I'm looking at the water line, I'm actually looking to see that that is half of what they weigh in pounds. If it is under that, then I know they likely have chronic inflammation and they're having a very hard time detoxifying their body. So that is the first question, the first thing we normally talk about. Stress reduces your ability to fight off illness and makes you more susceptible to these toxins. So, ways to manage your stress, meditation, box breathing. There's a wonderful app out there called the Calm app that actually has guided meditations that you can do. Highly recommend you take a few minutes to yourself every day to do something that actually grounds you and relaxes you. Whatever your thing is, it's different for everyone. I recommend you do that every single day. And then sweat. Whether it's working out, you can sauna if you love a sauna. Whatever's going to make you sweat, lift weights, run, walk. Movement is good. Movement is really, really going to help get you there.
These are great. And it gives you a nice variety of healthy lifestyle choices that kind of fits your own life and your own priorities. So I'm going to invite those of us who are participating in this session with us just to be thinking about which areas do you want to improve? Maybe hydration, maybe a little more movement. I like the fiber challenge. That is important. Lately, I've been eating sweet potatoes with cheese stuffed in it. Don't have, it's like an
Oh,
Instagram thing.
gotcha.
But also thinking about it even holistically around stress and sleep. And there are some free resources too, as you were mentioning, Julie, the Calm app. Our former US Surgeon General, Vivek Murthy, had actually recorded some free mindfulness meditation with Calm, and you can find it on YouTube totally free. If you don't have access to the app, you can download that. It talks about, anxiety or moving through tumultuous change and uncertainty, or just quieting the mind, and these little tiny small things that you can be doing, whether at work, whether at home, in our life, in our community, are really smart to be thinking about to create that holistic version. Thanks, Julie.
Yep. If you can go holistic to take care of yourself, it's the easiest, often the easiest and best way to go, and you'll experience less illness and sick in your later years. So start it now.
It's true. Now, I know we're going to go. Our last slide, we queued up some frequently asked questions that Julie and I often get. So I'll help narrate that if you want to move to the next slide. But I guess just a thought, and this is your own perspective, your own advice, but this is for you, Julie, before we jump into the frequently asked questions and then kick it all over to our hosts. If people only made one change this week, what would you say it should be? Do you have a thought on that?
hmm I actually would just start with taking your shoes off at the door. That is
Mm,
that is the one thing that I would change. It's free, and you can do it
that's
right now.
it's true, because then, you're not traipsing in the pesticides that are
hmm
outside or oil that's on the road
Yeah.
and things like that. It's funny because when people come into my house and they ask me, do you want me to take off my shoes? My inclination is to be like, no, it's okay, whatever you want. But now I'm going to be like, yes, please.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
Put
Of
those over
course.
there. All right, awesome. So I think we're going to go into our next slide, and I believe our next slide is just a few frequently asked
Mhm.
questions that you and I can navigate. This, of course, comes from our Well-Being for Resilient Workers training. We deliver this all over the federal government to many different components and public sector organizations, but also in Julie's practice. So I'm going to ask just to reiterate some of the key tips that we already shared. So I'm gonna mix it up. Does natural or organic always mean a product is safe?
No, it does not. Um, it will lead you in the right direction, but often things that say they are natural still are allowed to have some of these toxins in them. I believe that even Myers, I'm looking at it right now, states that it's scented with natural oils, and only a very small amount of it is natural. You have to kind of
Mm,
dig deep, and these statements are not really regulated. Produce organic is regulated, but they can pretty much slap that natural label on anything. So make sure you do your research.
awesome. All right. So how else can I be identifying toxic products in my home? I mean, again, we're in the midst of our May challenge, so maybe we throw in a
Mhm.
challenge for people
Mm.
to think about.
Okay, I actually like this idea. So, what I would recommend is that maybe people go ahead and download, let me bring it up, the Healthy Living app from the
Mm,
EWG. And on there, you can actually make lists of some of your favorite products, and they will give you grades. And you can actually go on there and search for better alternatives. You can do the same thing on the Safer Choice product list that's on the EPA's website. It's impossible for everybody to know every toxin unless you're a scientist out there all the time. So these tools are really meant to help you do this. You can actually take pictures on some of these apps and it will analyze the product for you or insert links from like Amazon or other websites.
mhm.
And it will actually review the product and tell you whether it's a good choice or not. And if it's not, it can offer up some solutions for you, alternatives.
That's great. I also heard something, I forgot one thing we can also re-emphasize is like throwing a little greenery into your either home or work environment.
Oh
Like
yeah.
I have a brown thumb, not a green thumb. So I actually lean on some succulents because they're less likely to die under my care. But even like some like greenery can help kind of refresh the environment, the air, whether you're at home, at work, at the gym,
Mhm.
things like that, I imagine too, huh?
Yeah, there are websites now that have they sell you potted plants for your home. They come potted already, and some of them are actually
Oh,
self-watering. They actually have
nice.
a vessel that you fill up with water, and the plant waters itself. Um,
Very
I
cool.
I too have a brown thumb, and I was very excited to find
Guilty.
out that there were self-watering plants out there. All I had to do was remember to fill it up like it's a pet.
Yeah,
Um, and on these websites, you can actually look and they will tell you which ones are the best air purifiers,
yeah.
like
That's
that do it
great.
naturally. It's pretty cool. So yeah, plants do a lot to help purify the air in your area. I hadn't even thought to mention that, but yeah, that's a great
Mhm.
tip. Great question.
All right, last but not least, because we already asked about the most important change that we talked about, but let's say people are generally just feeling again like a little fatigued, maybe depleted, not feeling so hot lately. When we make just one, two, three minor, small, safer swaps, let's say, based on our list and tips, how quickly do you think we might start seeing a difference? Like, how quickly do our bodies detox once we start making those smaller changes?
So there's a lot of different factors that go into this. It's how much you've been exposed to it and what it is. If you're experiencing like something from pesticides or radon, removing it immediately, you're going to feel an increase in vitality and you're going to be healthier, right? Especially if you're hydrated. The rest of this stuff is going to take time, just like it built up in your system over time. We talked about the cumulative effect of exposure. Once you start taking it away a little at a time, your body's going to adjust. So I would give yourself, months is what I'm going to say of less exposure before you're going to feel any real effects from it. And some people out there might not even notice it because it happens at such a slow rate. One day you're just going to wake up and realize you feel better. You're sleeping better. Maybe you have less hot flashes. Maybe you have less mood swings. Maybe you're not getting sick as much. It's little things. And that's the danger. I hate to say danger, but the danger of being exposed to everyday toxins is it just happens so little over time that it's not even something that we would notice right away.
Hmm. So those micro accumulations, yeah,
Yep.
that's really important.
Yep.
Well, we are coming to the close of our session today on toxic truths. As Julie moves to our final slide, that's just a way for you to keep up to date with us. If you want to reach out and have specific questions for us, this is how you can reach us, both Coach Julie and myself. But Julie, I just want to say thank you so much for bringing your expertise. Thanks to each and every one of you who are tuning in today for joining us. Remember, though, every small choice is really a step forward to a safer, healthier life for you and your family. It doesn't have to become overwhelming. You don't have to be fearful. We're not fear mongering. We're just here to help you take the next best step for you. And we're happy to provide those free resources, the resource sheet, the slide deck, and also tools that you can use right away. So, really appreciate you having us. With that, I'm going to kick it back over to our lovely hosts, and we wish you a wonderful May full of healthy lifestyle choices and the awesome challenge that you're participating in.
Mika, Julie, thank you both so much for that really informative presentation. I learned some things that I didn't know, and I was happy to reinforce that some changes that I've made in my own life over the last few years were good ones. As you were talking, I was making a few notes, thinking about questions that people might have. And one of the things that came up really early on was you're talking about fresh or frozen fruits and vegetables instead of canned fruits and vegetables. But immediately what pops into my mind is, well, frozen fruits and vegetables are still usually in a plastic container. What makes them different than a canned vegetable in a that has plastic in the container?
That's a great question. It's that they're frozen. So canned vegetables are not climate controlled. So when they're stored, the trucks they're moving on, and the shelf life's longer. So they're sitting in this lined can and could be in hot temperatures, and you would never know. And then the chemicals slowly leach into them over time. So fruit, like frozen fruits and vegetables, are flash frozen and then packaged, and then they have to stay cold. And then we're not cooking them inside that packaging. So that's kind of the difference. Of course, we all would love to avoid plastic altogether. But even when you go buy your fresh produce, berries are in a plastic container.
Right. Yeah, it's very hard to avoid it. But so it sounds to me just from some of the things that you're saying that really the thing that's important to think about with plastic is that when you apply heat to it, it's much more likely to leach into whatever it's touching.
Hmm. Absolutely. So yeah, plastic is very sensitive to heat. When you apply heat to plastic, it melts. So you may not see the melting right away, but it's like little microplastics, little tiny pieces over time. They leach into your food. So a perfect example that I can think of is if you've ever stored red sauce, like marinara or bolognese, in
Mhm.
a clear plastic container, how bad does that stain if you heat it up in there? I mean,
Yeah.
it becomes very, very porous. And that's actually because it's so porous that is absorbing some of the sauce. When you heat it, it opens it up completely, melts it, and then introduces it into the container, and vice versa. So you can actually see it happening there.
Right, right. And those the acidity as well can contribute to that, I imagine. Two other questions that well, one question and one maybe observation. You talked about scented oils as a way to replace some of these, chemical fragrances that we might have in our homes. I have pets, and I know
Mm-hmm.
that some of the scented oils can be dangerous for pets. Do you have any recommendations about how to go about making sure that we're using things that are safe for the furry members of our family?
A lot of the good essential oil websites will list if it's pet and kid safe at the bottom. Otherwise, I typically do Google. And if I Google and I can see a place where I trust, it's a known trusted source, or I'm seeing the same thing repeated over and over again, then I have a tendency to trust it. But I think that Eden's Garden, which is actually my preferred essential oil provider, has it on there, whether it's safe for pets and safe for children. They actually have a children's line of essential oils.
Oh, that's great. So just something to look out for anyone if you're researching those essential oils to look to see if that exists on the site that you're researching on or to Google to make sure before you choose something.
And
Um,
another thing about essential oils, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but don't put them directly on your skin in their full concentration. So if you have a roller ball that's an essential oil roller ball, that's already in what they call a carrier oil. So the actual essential oil is very strong. It needs to be diluted into something. So you need like an almond oil, argan oil, coconut oil, anything, any sort of thing like that. You can even buy like plain Lubriderm, like sensitive skin lotion, and you can put essential oil in that if you want.
Sensitive skin is the last thing that I wanted to just mention. I made that switch to an aluminum-free deodorant a few years
Mhm.
ago, but I had a little hiccup in my process because the first deodorant that I chose used baking soda, and it
Oh,
turned out that my skin was very sensitive to baking soda. So just one of the things I would imagine for people, especially those with sensitive skin, to pay attention to is that even with natural products, you could still have an allergic reaction to something. Is there a way to kind of know which natural products might have that tendency to cause an allergic reaction? Is there any place to go to research that?
even with natural deodorants, you can use the two websites and the app that we were talking about earlier, and they'll tell you exactly what's in there. So if you know you've had a reaction to something, you can check before you buy it while you're standing there to see if it has that in it.
Mika and Julie, thank you so much for that really informative presentation. I learned a lot. I hope everybody else here learned a lot about how to remove some bad stuff from the things that we eat and put on our skin and come into contact with in our daily lives. Really appreciate you joining us for this Wellness Wednesday of the Feds in Motion Challenge. And huge thanks again to Angela and everyone at GEHA for their ongoing support of FIA, Feds, and the Feds in Motion Challenge. We will see you again next week.